What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Vespris, and this show is brought to you by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sports Book. You can find me on social media at Dan Vespris, Besbris, or by following Old Man Squad. That's got all the videos that come out. We tweet them out to you guys over there on the socials. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy what we've been doing here, or you can think about it and maybe hit those buttons a little bit later on in the program. But today we are covering my perfect draft if you have a pick near the turn, pick 9 through 12. It's not perfect. It's a buzzy name for a show. It's a cute name for a show that aims to give you guys a few choices of players that are likely near where your pick will be if you have a draft slot in that 9, 10, 11, 12 range. Meaning, snake draft, we're going to give you some choices in each round. And first round, we'll give you some choices between 9 and 12 because we can just assume someone in that range is still going to be on the board for you. Second round, 13, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Third round, it's going to be back towards the end of the round again. So what we're going to do after the first round is basically in even numbered rounds, we're giving you access to everybody in that round. Most of those guys will still be on the board until you get a little bit farther down, then, people start reaching. But at the beginning, second round, fourth round, whatever, most guys in those rounds are still there when it gets to you at pick 13, at pick 37. I mean, really 12 and 36, 36 or 12 and 13, 36 and 37, etc. Yeah, I mean, if you have pick 9, you're going to have a better set of choices in the odd numbered rounds than if your pick is number 12. But of course, if you're number 12, you have a better selection of choices in even numbered rounds. So we're going to do our best to try to get it within a chunk of names, and you can put them all together. Let's get going. This is Dan's draft of the pick near the turn. First round, Devin Booker at number 9. The honorable mention in the first is James Harden. If you guys have been watching this show, you know I've talked a lot about these guys. Booker gets an extra bump right now with Jalen Green dealing with a nagging hammy. So it's just going to be Booker, and more Booker in Phoenix these days. They don't really have anybody else who can do offense. I know, troubled times are these when you trade Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal away. So I would expect Booker to be taking 21-ish or more shots per game, at least until Green comes back. It might be 22 or 23 while Jalen's out, and then comes down to 20 or 21 when the team is fully healthy. But expect Devin Booker to be a guy with a per-game rank somewhere near the turn. He's going to be trying to play in every game, especially at the beginning of the year, to keep Phoenix afloat. Whether they can stay afloat when they're healthy or unhealthy is still kind of a mystery going into this year. But he's going to be playing his tail off. Expect good assists, 7 to 8 assists a game, high 20s in scoring, mid to high 2s and 3s, around a steal. He's also a good percentages guy, which I like, so you don't have to go straight into a punt build right out of the chute. But if you can't get your hands on Booker, let's say you have the 12th pick, you can go James Harden around that range. Harden, not going to score as much, but he's going to have the higher assist total, the better defensive stats, the better free throw impact, because he takes more of them, even if Booker is also very, very good at the foul line. Both these guys are terrific free throw shooters. In fact, last year, I think Booker was slightly more impactful in a positive way, but they're both going to be great there. Harden's going to out-rebound Booker. He's a bigger dude. He just rebounds more. But your big gap there is the assists and the defensive stats on the Harden side, and the field goal percent, and probably the scoring on the Booker side. Either way, you're in pretty good shape. Second round selection, and you have your pick of the litter in this one. Steph Curry is my favorite second rounder. He just keeps moving up the board. His initial pre-rank was down near 30. Now it's at 13. And we're finally getting to where he belongs, which is kind of tail end of the first round. Steph was number 9 in 9 category leagues last year on a per-game basis. He was actually better than that the second half of the year. Once Jimmy Butler showed up, he was a top 6 fantasy play. And it's all going to come down to steals and field goal percent for Steph, because he's going to get a ton of usage. His free throw is going to be great. His assists are going to be kind of middling. He's not going to rebound very much, and his threes are going to be hyper elite. So does he shoot 44% or does he shoot 47%? Does he get 0.8 steals or does he get 1.1? These are the things that are going to move him from a mid-second to a mid-first. Either way, you have an extraordinarily safe pick at the beginning of the second round with a bit of upside. If you cannot get your hands on Steph at the beginning of the second round, fear not. The beginning of the second round is where all of my favorite second rounders are clustered. Kevin Durant being my second choice. Yeah, he could be hurt, but he's going to be asked to do a ton in Houston. Expect KD to get up near 19 to 20 shots a game instead of 17 or 18. He's going to have high efficiency scoring, threes, good blocks. And hell, maybe the free throw number comes back up a little bit. He could have been better last year if he didn't have a down free throw shooting season. I think KD is going to be top 8, top 7 per game this year. You're just going to have to kind of hope that he stays healthy. But like, if you're getting that type of production, you can weather it. Tyrese Maxey, I'm pretty high on, but I'm not as high as many. I think he's going to have a ton of usage. It sounds like Joel Embiid is closer to playing than we thought a couple weeks ago. Not that that really changes things for Maxey. He's a more efficient basketball player when Embiid is on the court. For me, it's really about, can Maxey keep the steal rate as high as it was? And I'm inclined to think the answer is probably no. I don't think he's going to be a 1.8 steals per game guy, which if it goes down to 1.2 or kind of where I would assume it falls back to, then he's more of a second rounder instead of a first. That's fine. And the reason that you're probably going Maxey as your kind of third choice in this range is that if you don't get him, the next chunk of players that I would look at would be Amen Thompson and Evan Mobley, who I don't think have quite the same upside. Not that Amen Thompson's not going to be amazing this year, but like Evan Mobley, you know exactly what you're going to get. He's going to be a late second rounder. And Amen Thompson, there's a little bit of a wider spread on that, but you're going to get your stuff in kind of different categories, things that are, you might argue, not say easier to find later, very difficult to find all clustered together later, what Amen Thompson's going to do, but like, you got to get your scoring early. You got to get assists early if you want to compete in those. If you don't want to compete in those, then the hell with it, because they're not my favorite categories anyway. But that's why I would go Maxey before I move down to kind of the next tier of second rounders that you guys heard me talk about in other of these Dan's draft episodes. This is the third and probably the one that is the most important of these episodes, the what if you have a late pick? Because like if you have an early pick, you start with Jokic, you're going to be in really good shape. You start with Luka, you start with SGA. It just makes the rest of your draft very easy. When you got to pick near the end, you really have to be excellent. After I do this show, I think I want to just do a crap ton of mocks. We might start putting out 3 or 4 mock draft episodes a day on this channel, which I realize is a bit overkill, but I want to do a mock from almost every slot. If I can knock out like 12 mocks in the next 3 days is probably my goal, because I'm going to have real drafts mixed in there, and I just want to make sure that I've done practice on the current Yahoo board. Most of the mock drafts I did were before the October 2nd revision. Wait, is that the last time they did one? Doesn't matter. Third round, Derrick White is often there towards the end of the third round. He might not make it to you if you have the last pick of the third round. If you can get D White, to me, he's the guy you'd want to go with. Again, we're knocking a bunch of names off the board. Much like we did in the first round, I took the first 8 players of this round and I removed them. So first round, everybody through Anthony Edwards was gone. Third round, everybody through Bam Adebayo, gone. So no Jalen Williams, no Josh Giddey, no Chet Holmgren, no Jamal Murray, no LeBron, no Bam. Those guys are all off the board for me. So I left Derrick White, Franz Wagner, Trey Murphy, and De'Aaron Fox. Derrick White is obviously my choice there. You guys have heard me talk about him a lot on the show. I think he's a second rounder per game this year, and I think Boston plays harder than people think. Trey Murphy is my second choice in that group. I'm concerned about De'Aaron Fox. I know everybody's going to want to get your point guard there, but again, the only advantage right now to having a pick near the turn is that you do have a pretty good collection of guards available to you at the end of the first, beginning of the second round. Devin Booker, James Harden, as we talked about. If you're a Trae Young guy, I'm not. But if you are, he's a guy you could build around. Steph, Maxey, Donovan Mitchell's in there. Not my favorite early second round choice. But that allows you in the third round to not have to take a point guard. Mind you, I think Derrick White's going to have decent guard stats. He's going to hit a lot of threes. He's going to have a good free throw number. He's going to get steals. He's going to get some assists, probably not a ton, but more than last year. But he's also not a traditional point guard. He's a guard who blocks. He's a guard whose field goal percent might not be terrible. He's a guard who rebounds a little bit. Trey Murphy, you might argue, is more of a guard in the fantasy sense than Derrick White. Trey Murphy is going to score and hit a bunch of threes with some steals and a great free throw percent, but his other stuff is, I don't know. Rebounds will be okay. I mean, Trey Murphy was actually pretty damn well-rounded last year. I don't take anything away from that dude. He and Derrick White were very close in rank last season, and honestly, their fantasy games were not all that different. Derrick White, more assists. Trey Murphy, more scoring. That was the big gap between those guys. And even that wasn't that big of a gap. So those are my two choices towards the end of the third round. But luckily, as we pivot towards the fourth, it opens the door again because we pretty much have the entire round at our disposal. And I love the fourth round this year. In seasons past, I've loved the third round. This year, I love the fourth round. And I will tell you all the players I love in the fourth round after this brief stoppage for promo time here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Well, I once again hope that you will like and subscribe to the proceedings around here. I also want to let you guys know this show is brought to you by Fantrax. If you're still looking for a league to sign up for, try fantrax.com/oldmansquad. You're going to have to get used to the UI. I'm going to full disclosure on that one. It's a little bit of a brain shock when you come from Yahoo, which is the cleanest UI out there. Don't use ESPN. If you're on ESPN and you're watching these shows, just switch to Fantrax and you literally will have no reason not to. With Yahoo, it's like, yeah, I mean, you're going from a slightly cleaner user interface to a slightly chunkier one. But Fantrax, the options there make the fantasy game so much better that once you get used to what everything looks like, once you figure out where everything is, and it'll take you a little bit of time to do that. So do it before the actual season starts or do it before your draft. And the draft room is really straightforward also. That's not confusing even in the slightest. It's just a better place to play fantasy sports. They've got all the games, fantasy football, basketball, baseball, all that stuff. They've got like 9 other ones as well. Just go to fantrax.com/oldmansquad, sign up for a free account, poke around. Nothing costs any money there. You don't have to pay for anything. Just do fantasy sports, full season fantasy sports like you do at the other big guys. And once you get used to it, I promise you're just not looking back. Industry pickup draft is going right now. You guys don't care about that, but that's like the real industry stuff now. There's a bunch of them. Josh Lloyd and B-Dub over at FBI have organized these. I don't remember how many there are now. There's a few head-to-head ones. There's a Roto one. Believe it or not, I'm doing the head-to-head one just so that you guys can be like, Dan, all you do is Roto. And I can say, no, I don't. And I'm building a punt free throw team in it. Go figure. I'm doing the un-Dan. Meanwhile, my buddy Josh Lloyd is going full Dan Besbris mode. He's got the oldest team on earth through 3 rounds. By the way, the reason I brought this up is it's a really cool industry league. It's like where people that are actually still playing fantasy basketball are competing against one another. It's the one you want to follow if you want to see what legit industry pros are doing on a week-to-week basis. But it's at Fantrax. That's why. That's where we all host our stuff. I had another promo, but that one ran long. So let's get right back into talking about the fourth round, which I love right now. So you can see even in this program that I'm talking about, Austin Reaves is my favorite pick in the fourth round, but heaven forbid you don't get my dude Reaves. You can go JJJ, who now the report is that he's not hurt anymore. He's playing in preseason games. He played on Wednesday. I'm recording the show on Thursday morning. Jaren Jackson played. He didn't play a ton. 22 minutes, but he's fine. He took 20 shots in 22 minutes. No Ja Morant. His usage is not going to be that high on a night-to-night basis, but like it puts a dent into my boy Santi Aldama. I'll give you that, but not enough where I'm still interested in Santi. Point is, JJJ is back to being a really solid third, or what is his ADP? 38-ish. Solid early fourth round pick. I would happily take him in the third. Can't get Austin or JJJ? Don't worry. We got more choices. Desmond Bane is the safest fourth-round pick I could possibly imagine. Denny Avdija is your moonshot fourth-round pick. He's got that big upside. And then Kawhi Leonard is going at the end of the 4th round. You can reach down and take Kawhi if your first 3 picks are super safe, which I actually think they are in this draft I've built. It's very guard heavy if you got Booker, Curry, Derrick White in your first 3. So take a wing. Take a big man. You might be going big man build. Take JJJ if that in that or guard build. JJJ fits that wonderfully. Kawhi fits this team beautifully because he's a first rounder. Fits every team. There's too many great choices in the 4th round. And I mean, the silly part is too, like, I don't hate Jimmy Butler in the 4th round. I just wouldn't put him in my top 3 or 4 choices there. I don't hate Dyson Daniels in this range. I don't even hate Ivica Zubac in this range, although I'm down on him with as much as Brook Lopez is getting to play. I wouldn't take him. Let's just say that. And then the last 2 picks in the 4th round are Porzingis and Joel Embiid. That's a little too risky. 5th round, Jalen Duren. He's pretty much the only name I would consider towards the end of the 5th round. All the players I like in the 5th are off the board at the beginning of the round. Miles Turner is the beginning of the round. Cooper Flagg is the beginning of the round. DeMar is in the middle of the round, but I just don't think that there's a whole lot there. I think this is actually too early, which is super weird because I would have thought that at this stage of his career, DeMar DeRozan would be going late as hell, and he's not. He's probably a 60 to 80 range fantasy guy this year. I don't know why he's going 55th. I thought we'd be able to get DeMar at 70, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm coasting along. I got DeMar at the end of the 6th round. Nope. So just go Jalen Duren. He's a top 50, 60 center with a little bit of upside. And if he's not there and you're stuck and you absolutely positively must take someone who has a pre-rank above 60, which, by the way, you don't have to because there's plenty of really good choices in the early 6th round. But if you must, you could go Darius Garland and just hope he gets healthy quick. But my choice would be, if you can't get Jalen Duren towards the end of the 5th round and all your favorite 5th rounders are gone, go to the 6th round because there's like 1,000 guys in the 6th round I like also. The 4th and the 6th are loaded to the hilt and not clustered at the front or back end of it by pre-rank. And I know you're like, Dan, you're putting too much stock in pre-rank. I'm not. If all you're doing is playing hyper-competitive leagues, then yeah, pre-rank doesn't have as much of an impact on things. But I'm betting that 90% of the people watching this YouTube or listening to the podcast are playing in leagues where not everyone is a diehard, where 20 to 40% of the people barely pay attention to at all. And another 20 to 30% of the people like look at Twitter, and another 20% are diehards. And a couple people, they auto draft. And a couple people, they look at the pre-ranks and they pretty much just go by who's near the top, but not exactly. Pre-ranks matter. It's what the rest of the people in your draft room, by and large, are looking at when you're drafting with them. And so when I talk about, oh, here's who's going to be gone near the beginning of the round, it's not a sure thing, but it does happen a lot of the time. So just understand, it might not happen in your draft, or it might happen some of the time in your draft, and you're just not noticing it. So 6th round, there are names all throughout it. Zach LaVine at 61 is a safe pick there. I would rather have Kobe White at 63. Jared Allen at 62 is a good pick, but I just took Jalen Duren, so I couldn't put him up there. DeAndre Ayton at 65 is a solid pick. Peyton Pritchard is a little bit later in that round. He's 68. OG Anunoby at 72. Andrew Nembhard at 69. All of these guys are solid 6th round choices. I made Zach LaVine my top pick, but it really doesn't have to be that way. It could be any of those guys. They're pretty much a wash for me in the 6th round. Take whoever fits whatever you're doing with your team, and you'll be fine kind of regardless. The only names I don't like in the 6th round is I don't like Emmanuel Quickley at 64. I don't like drafting Tyler Hero Hurt at 66, and I don't like Julius Randle at 70. Oh, and I don't like Paul George. Sorry, I forgot. No, he's outside. He's the 7th round. I don't like him either, but he's not in the 6th round. 7th round. Nobody. I hate the 7th round. Outside of the first couple names in it. And you're not going to get those guys if you have a pick near the end of the 7th round, which is like down near 84. Odds are Rudy Gobert at 74, Jakob Poeltl at 75. Those guys are probably not going to make it to you at 84. Odds are, with the way things are going right now, Asar Thompson at 79 is not going to make it to you at 84. And Christian Brown, I don't really like that much at 80. I liked him at 102 or whatever he was going at before, but I actually think he's set to take a step back this season after shooting way over his head. 58% is, to me, not a sustainable number. Now, maybe he repeats it, and Brown goes top 60 again. But I just don't think he does. I think he's kind of an even money play around 80, which is fine. But what I would rather do in the 7th round is, instead of forcing myself to taking Christian Brown, who I like, but I don't like a lot, I'd rather you guys just take 2 early 8th, in quotes, 8th round pre-ranked guys and go with Donovan Clingan at the beginning of the round, or Cam Johnson, who's kind of mid-round, or John Collins, who's sort of mid-round. Or if you're a big Modest Buzelis guy, he's right at the beginning of the 8th round as well. I don't know. I think there are a lot of ways that the Buzelis thing doesn't go great. And maybe I'm too nervous about it, because Buzelis was top 70 down the stretch last year. The 51% shooting, I don't think sticks. And that was a big reason why his value came roaring back. Can he maintain 2+ 3-pointers and 2+ defensive stats? I hope so. I mean, that's how he beats this pre-rank, but I'm not sure. Anyway, all that to say, I think Donovan Clingan at 85 is going to be super fun. I think he's going to be one of those centers that kind of pops off this year, even if he doesn't do... I know that centers are not the get your blood pumping kind of fantasy plays, but like what he did down the stretch last year feels easily repeatable to me. And I think he could do it on a better field goal percent. Down the stretch last year, Donovan Clingan was right around top 75. He and Buzelis actually were ranked pretty damn close to one another over the final 15 games. But Buzelis felt like he was kind of shooting over his head, and Clingan kind of felt like he was shooting under his head. Donovan Clingan could shoot better than 51% if he's playing 27 minutes a game. If that goes up to 53 or 54, he goes roaring up the board. 7-8 shots a game. It's not a huge impact, but it's a pretty good one. Like, become an impact field goal percent guy with the other stuff he was doing. Anyway, John Collins, I just think, is a really safe play. He's gonna be such a great fit with the Clippers. Harden's gonna get him open so often, and Kawhi's like, the question is whether or not there's gonna be enough for him to do. That's the only question mark there. And then I think Cam Johnson's gonna have a stellar percentages year. So go with one of those guys. You don't have to force your way into what you'd call a traditional 7th rounder or whatever. I mean, it's all somewhat arbitrary when you get past the top 65 or so, and everybody in draft just starts grabbing whoever the hell they want. But those are the names I like in this range. Clingan, Cam Johnson, John Collins, and then Buzelis would probably be kind of like my 4th choice in that group. I don't want to write him off completely. And then Christian Brown also kind of later. He's more of the 7th round kind of safe play. Maybe I should have put Brown in there just to have a name. But hey, whatever. You're listening to the pod, so you see it now. I've talked about it a little bit on shows over the last week, and I'll do it again here. I did start a Patreon. I feel weird about the whole experience. But what I've also said is, when I started Old Man Squad a year ago, I said I'm going to do 3 full years of everything free and just cranking as hard as humanly possible. And if at the end of those 3 years, podcast ad revenue and Patreon combined pays for my childcare, I'll do it that way forever. We're 1 year into it, and I didn't even bother to start the Patreon last year because I didn't have time to do it. I've started it now, and we're not that far away. I don't know what the exact number is. I probably need to sit down and figure out from a straight budget standpoint, but we're not there yet. We're close, but we're not there yet. The Patreon probably needs to be a few hundred, and if the podcast grows a little bit, then we're fine. And right now, there's already 100 of you in the Patreon. So, like, legitimately, we're really not that far away, and I've given myself 2 more years to get there. If I've won you things over the years, and if you're thinking, yeah, Dan deserves $1, that's literally what I set the Patreon at, because I don't want anybody to give me more than 99 cents a month. Check it out. It's patreon.com/oldmansquad. It's the softest sell on earth. If you don't do it, I will not hold it against you. Those that are doing it right now, you get nothing added other than the satisfaction of knowing that you're helping me, Dan, do all of this stuff for free and keep fantasy fun forever. Let's go to number 9. And there are very few names in the pre-rank zone. And again, this is a sort of a stupid part of this exercise once you get to this range, because the 9th round starts at pick 97. And there's absolutely no way to know that the first 8 names are going to be off the board when it gets to your pick at the end of the 9th round. The names in the 9th round on the Yahoo board are Okongwu, Naz Reid, Ware, Aldama, Eason, KPJ, Jaden Ivey, McCollum, Wiggins, Drew Holiday, Josh Hart, and Reed Shepard. Those are the 12 names. The names in that range that I like are Okongwu a lot, by the way. Big Okongwu guy right now. Santi Aldama, I like a lot. Tari Eason, I liked more when he was in the 140s, and I'm hoping he slips a little bit. I don't actually hate Andrew Wiggins, by the way, at 105, but Josh Hart is my favorite play at this range, which is weird because 2 weeks ago when Josh Hart was pre-ranked between 45 and 60, I said I wanted nothing to do with him. But things change, and I have to be willing to change. He dropped 60 slots over this draft season because he looks like the guy who's going to get aced out of a starting job if Mitchell Robinson starts or if Deuce McBride starts. Hart's still going to play a lot of minutes. He's not going to play 37, but he's probably still going to get 29 or 30. That's going to knock him from where he was last year, which, by the way, was not top 50. He was better than that last season. If it was top 50 and he lost 25% of his playing time, I probably wouldn't draft him at all. But he was number 26 in 9 category leagues last year. 26, you lose 6-7 minutes a game. You fall a lot, but you don't fall outside the top 100. And if you happen to be punting points the way I often do, not that this team necessarily has to, because Booker and Steph and Reaves and LaVine are all going to score a fair amount. But if you find yourself punting points, like let's say you ended up going Harden, Amen Thompson to start instead of Booger, Devin Boogie, just picking a boogie. Devin Booker, Steph Curry, if you wipe out those 55 points a game and turn it into Harden, Amen Thompson, which is probably going to be more like 40 combined. Yeah, then Josh Hart, like, you got to stew. May he rest in peace, what's the Carl Weathers line from Arrested Development? You got to stew on, baby. Or, and this is the thing that makes more sense probably, you don't have to draft someone pre-ranked between 97 and 108. And that's why this part of the show is stupid. You can just go to guys that you like in this range, which for me, there's a truckload of them early in the 9th round and all through the 10th round. Toumani Camara at 120. I love him. Keegan Murray, I know he's going to miss the first 2 to 4 weeks of the season, but if you can find a way to stash Keegan Murray, I would try to do it. He has a pre-rank of 110, but he's definitely going later than that these days. And the Kings just extended him and gave him a crap ton of money. He is a huge part of what Sacramento is building. And once he started shooting the ball last year, he was a 9-cat darling. He was top 60 when he was making some of his three-pointers. And it wasn't even a hot stretch. It was just like a not super cold stretch. Who else do I like in this range? Dante DiVincenzo I like a lot in this range. Tobias Harris is a very safe play in this range. Zach Edey, also a stash type of guy, although his return date may be a little bit less. I'm more confident in Keegan Murray coming back because his was a hand thing. Hashtag thumb stuff. Zach Edey is a lower body thing from a guy who's basically a mountain on feet. So I'm worried that Zach Edey's never 100% healthy. He looks like the woolly mammoth moving around out there. So I'd rather go Keegan Murray if you have a few IL slots. Obviously, you can't do it if you only have one. But if you're in a Games Cap Roto league, you could start with Keegan Murray and just sit on him for 2 to 3 weeks. He's going to be great once he gets in there. And you can go beyond the 10th round if you want. Bobby Portis, Herb Jones, Brandon Pajemski. These are guys I would probably all rather have over most of the guys in the 9th round. And there's absolutely no problem with you going that route. There is nothing in the fantasy basketball bylaws that states that you must draft someone pre-ranked 97 to 108. If you can't get Onyeka Okongwu in that range, the best option is probably Toumani Camara or DiVincenzo or someone from the 115 range. There is nothing in the fantasy basketball bylaws that states that those guys can't finish the year higher than someone pre-ranked ahead of them. This is why we do our own analysis. Yahoo's not right. Although I'll give Yahoo a lot of credit. This latest board, their 5th version of it, is so much tighter than the first 4. The first 4 had huge gaping issues. Oh, this was October 11th, not October 1st. The October 1st one began to fix a lot of them, but the October 11th one really fixed a lot of them. The number of guys that I had shaded green on my free Google Sheet, which, by the way, link in the show description to the free Google Sheet. I highly suggest you guys do it. I started working on the streaming calendar last night, got through the first 3 weeks, which should be more than enough to get you started if you're streaming, scheduled planning, etc. All that stuff is free. I also put the first name on the injury replacement board. It's Grayson Allen filling in for Jalen Green. We got a burger board cooking. All that stuff is in the show description. I realize that a lot of YouTubers and podcasters say this, but please look at the show description. It is jam-packed with free stuff that will help you. It's got the Patreon in there. Yes, that's the $1 nonsense, but the Fantrax link, free, will help you. My Twitter, free, will help you. My buckets, Yahoo ranks, ADP movement, weekly schedule charts, tracking sheets, free, link in the show description, will help you. The Discord will help you. All of this stuff free in the show description. The only thing that's not is 100% optional. There's nothing behind the paywall. It's you pay $1, a curtain opens, and it's nothing. It's a mirror. It flashes back on what you already saw. That's why it's optional. I like it, but it's optional. Quick recap for those that are listening. Those that are watching, you can see all the names. First, here we go, just top to bottom. Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Derrick White, Austin Reaves, Jalen Duren, Zach LaVine, nobody, or I guess Christian Brown, or just go to the 8th round. Donovan Clingan, Josh Hart, and Toumani Camara. Your honorable mentions throughout the board. Harden up top, 2nd round, Durant and Maxey. Trey Murphy in the 3rd, JJJ, Bane, Kawhi, Avdija in the 4th. Nobody in the 5th round backing up Jalen Duren. Jarrett Allen, Kobe White, DeAndre Ayton, Peyton Pritchard, OG Anunoby, all in the 6th round. Nobody in the 7th round of any kind, up near the top at least. It's where you get screwed if you have a late pick. Cam Johnson, John Collins, Donovan Clingan, all 8th round solid picks. I don't really like the 9th outside of a couple guys near the beginning like Okongwu, but let's say you can't get him. Josh Hart would be an end of 9th round choice. And then the 10th round and beyond, just go watch our sleepers video. It's got all that stuff. And we probably need to do a redo on that. But I'm running out of time, man. It's Thursday. The season starts in 5 damn days. So please, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to Old Man Squad because we're going to be doing 2 podcasts Monday through Friday once the season starts. 2 a day, guys. We're doing 2 a day. It's a nightly recap episode and then a specialty episode. Usually there's buys and sells. We've got burger board shows. We've got streaming shows. That's like the weekly lineup show. We're going to do guest shows. That's the daily show. That's not the recap show. The recap show needs its own thing. I can't mush them all together. It's going to be 65 minutes of podcasting every day, and nobody wants to watch a 65-minute podcast. Somebody does. You guys, some of you are nuts. But please, again, hit that subscribe button. That's the biggest thing you can do other than looking at all the stuff in the show description. I'm at Dan Besbris on Twitter. I hope to see you over there because many of you know this. I do a nightly recap on Twitter as the games are ending. Literally the fastest way you guys can find out what I'm doing with my fantasy team. It's on Twitter, and it's every stinking night during the week. Some of them go in Discord a little bit earlier if I'm bouncing back and forth to the computer, but they go on Twitter. Please follow over there. I promise you'll be happy you did. Just block out the noise because it's a hellscape. Thanks for watching. I'm Dan. See you guys soon.